I left my body and I found myself flying through this star-filled realm. Every time I tell this story, I just start smiling because it all comes back. But yeah, I was flying through this star-filled realm, and there were all these magnificent stars, orbs all around me, and they were so welcoming. And it was like I was being paraded through, and I just, all I felt was everything a human ever wants to feel. Just acceptance and love and joy and being held. And all those things, all those negative things that we have about ourselves, they were gone. They were absolutely gone. Things like, anger and resentment or spite or jealousy. In my opinion, those emotions do not travel with us. They stay here. They're tools for us to learn from. So anyway, I was flying through this star-filled realm, feeling absolutely ecstatic, like a cosmic orgasm. And it wasn't just an explosion, that was a full-time vibe. That is what we come from. We get glimpses of it here when we score the winning touchdown, or we get that job we wanted, or get the girl, and all these victories, if you roll them all into one, times it by a million, that is your vibration. So yeah, we come down here to push against this really dense, harsh vibrations. And it's really a wonderful gift. It really is. I'm cruising along, and there was cosmic orgasm, just continuous. And I felt like I'd been released from a hot, dark closet. And I was this huge expanded cloud, a huge expanded balloon. It seemed like I went out forever. And the thing that I kept saying while I was flying along and I was enjoying everything, and I kept saying, how in the world did I believe I was this dude? It was such a crazy trick that I was this person, and I had all these good points and bad points, and buttons. We all have them, emotional buttons that are going to send me into whatever depression, and they were gone. All that was gone. All that was gone, and that remained with the person that was Bill Letson. And I had full knowledge of Bill Letson's entire life and knew all the details, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And I like him. He's a good guy, but I didn't want anything to do with it. The thought of going back was out of the question. I was well aware that my body was behind, and it was like a banana peel. What are you going to do with a banana peel? Throw it away. And that's what it felt like. So I was flying along, and then all of a sudden I landed. I landed in a place that was solid. It had indirect lighting, and there were gurneys around, and there was equipment that was hanging from the ceiling. It was like a facility or a clinic or something. And right in front of me there were beings. There were these three short little hooded guys, and they looked exactly like those beings in the movie Communion. The guys I saw, they were in front of me. They had big smiles on their face, and they had these dark hoods and squatty little bodies. And one woman wrote to me, and she said, I was taken by these many times as a kid. And she goes, I called them the Warthog Men. The Warthog Men have come and taken me. And she said, when I saw that movie Communion, I dropped my popcorn. And says that they looked exactly like that. And I've gotten a number of emails from people saying, thank you for doing this, because I thought it was just mine. So anyway, yeah, they look kind of, I don't know, creepy is the right word, but they look different. But for me, they were sweethearts. And they were saying things like, how was it? What did you learn? What can you tell us? And I was extremely confused. All of a sudden, I was in this place with these beings from a cartoon, basically. And one of them stepped forward, and he took a long look at me, and then he turned to the other two, and he said, he doesn't remember us. And they all started giggling. And I was like, well, guys, I'm having a little trouble. All of a sudden, things are very strange from my perspective, and I kind of remember you, but give me a little time. And they were giggling and bouncing around, and they were wonderful. And then there was this other guy, and he was sort of in charge. He was kind of in the background. He came forward, and he was this tall, wispy guy, and he had this incredible ecstatic smile. His eyes were open, his eyebrows were up, and he had this wonderful smile and laugh. And he was obviously in charge, but he was the best boss anybody could ever have. He wasn't, very strict at all. When he came forward towards me, my throat just tightened and my chest expanded. And I thought I was going to break down in uncontrollable crying from love. There was so much love pouring from this being that it was overwhelming. It was paralyzing. And I just loved it. I loved those guys. He was cool. There was some back and forth stuff. And every time I said something, he had this chuckle. I could feel it inside of me. He had this laugh. I got the impression that, looking at it from a third person, that was a relationship between a father and a child. And he loved me unconditionally. And at one point I said, I'm not going back there. No way, no how, ever. So I guess I got to move on from this place eventually. And so, what's next? A review of my life? Would you guys like to get started with that? And he just loved that. He just cracked up like I was a little toddler trying to take over. And he said, sure, let's do that. How do you want to start? So I started talking, and I was telling stories about jobs that I wish I'd taken. My wife and I got this offer for this job on an island off the coast, and we were going to live on this island by ourselves and take care of the wildlife. And it was really super remote. It was like an hour helicopter ride off the coast. And she wanted that. That was right up her alley. And I took a fire job. I still wanted excitement. But I wish I'd done that for her, because she's never asked for anything, but she did want that. So yeah, I talked a little bit about that and a few other things, and nobody was listening. They didn't care. It was obvious that I was brought in there for a quick show and tell, and I wasn't staying. It wasn't the end of my life, and I was the only one in the room that didn't know that. And at one point he said, okay, that's enough. He stepped forward like a father and said, time to go back. And that just floored me. I was like, what? Go back? I'm not going back there. There's no way. He says, yeah, you got to go back. You got things to do, and they're important. And the three little guys, it was like they were reassigned. They just disappeared. They went somewhere else in that facility, and it was just he and I. And he came forward, and he's like, okay, you're going back. And as he stepped forward, I felt myself slipping back. The place just started to break up. It started to dematerialize. It's like I was being beamed out of there, and I was going to another channel. I was going to another frequency, and it was a descending feeling, and I dropped away into darkness. It wasn't a good place. It wasn't someplace you wanted to be. It was lonely, and it was dismal, and you didn't want to stay there. Then I was back in my body, and I woke up, and a nurse came by, and she says, you're awake. And I'm like, yeah, I need to talk to you. And she said, I just got to go tell the doctor. We've been worried about you. We didn't know what was going to happen with you. We didn't know what was going on. And I said, okay, that's cool. You can go talk to the doctor. But first, what am I doing back here? I was pissed. I said, I was home. I'd made it out of here. I was home with my best bros. How is it that I ended up back here? I had bought the farm. I was convinced of it. She said, honey, you've been in escrow, but you fell out of escrow, and now you're back with us, and you're going to have to get your head around that. And I thought that was, looking back, that was really good advice, because after that experience, anybody who has an experience like that, the yogis and the spiritual teachers, they'll tell you, get back in your life and chop wood and carry water and do the things that support your life and keep it going, because you're on a journey. You're a soldier for the higher self, this higher version of you that came for experiences that are mapped out. Get back on the job and make them proud on the other side that you gave your best and you made the highest vibration choices in this life. It's up to us to create our vibration. When we live our life and our vibration is low because we've been selfish and self-centered and mean-spirited, and we all know these people, we've all met them. And when we leave our bodies, when we die and leave our bodies, our vibration is going to match that low vibration of those lower places, and that's where we'll be stuck. It's not forever. It's just till we sort out where we went wrong in this life, and because we are these infinite, amazing beings. If you listen to those people who, they give a video about going to hell, almost every time it's like they sort it out. One woman was in a coma for weeks, and at one point she sorted it out, and she started singing a spiritual song that she sang in church, and she popped right out of hell. and she said that most of the time she had no idea she was dead. This thing about leaving this world in an astonished state, you're going to bump around in these low vibrational places until you can sort out that astonishment. And for some, it could be a long time. Edgar Cayce, when he used to leave his body to give a reading, he would sit quietly until the vibration started right in his eyes, and he would start that REM sleep, that blinking thing that you talked about, and I feel it all the time. Then he would find himself a little speck of light outside of his body, and he knew that he had to follow the light in order to stay safe, and that the first level of the realms that he visited or he moved through, he would move over to this staircase, and it was this like Jacob's ladder, and he would start up this staircase, and he would pass these little hooded gnomes and elves and things, and they had very dark robes at the lower levels, and then they'd be light colored at the higher levels, and there'd be like 8 levels, I think, and he'd go into the Akashic records and get a reading and return. But he said that that first level was a place of nightmares. The things that were alive in that area were nightmarish. People were there, but they were greatly deformed. They'd have huge hands or giant feet, or just these body parts that were really bizarre looking. And he said as he would follow the light to this stairwell, and then he would ascend, and he'd pull out of those places. And I think this guy Michael Tamara, he talks about this thing as we go through these lives and we sort out what we really are, who we really are, and we die well. We die realizing that we live forever and we can't be harmed. And I just got to stay the course and follow the light. We're living in an illusion. This is a really good play, and we all got parts in it, but when we go home, you don't want to come back here. This thing we call death, we've got it completely backwards. It is a beautiful thing. It is a 10 million% upgrade instantly. We have not lost anybody. They've slipped out of the physical and they've gone home, and they're just a little further up the trail than we are right now. But we'll see them again, and everything is fine. Everything is beyond fine for them.